Yeah, it was a big decision, but it was a selfish decision, but it was kind of who Michael Jordan was, and that's was a guy that kind of believed that he can do anything on his own.
Have you talked to Phil about this? Because by saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know who Michael was speaking to when he said that, right? that was planned. That was speaking to the camera. That wasn't speaking out of what we're going to have to do, what the play is going to be. That was speaking to the camera.
Hello， 大家好，我是热篮球的伦伦。今天 NBA 的版面几乎都被公牛传奇天下第二人 Scottie Pippen 霸占了。原因是在6月24号篮网刚被淘汰后 ，Pippen 接受了 GQ 杂志的访谈，在被问到 KD 跟 Lebron 的比较时，他说 KD 还比不上 Lebron， 这引起 KD 不满，在推特上回击。于是昨天，就是6月28号 ，Pippen 受邀上广播节目说明这段访谈。原本呢，我以为他是去解释访谈内容，没想到他是带着汽油桶去救火。访谈中火力全开，批评前教练 Phil Jackson 是种族主义者，前队友 Michael Jordan 是个演员，很喜欢在摄影机前面演戏。最后更直接说他离开去打棒球很自私，引起了非常大的风波。话不多说，因为已经说很多了，我们直接看原始影片。
Is there anything that you want to clarify, put in context from the GQ article?
Not really. I mean, I think with the Kevin Durant thing, I think that people may not have understood the question asking me, you know, had he surpassed LeBron James? From a standpoint of looking at it at basketball and what LeBron James have been able to do from carrying a team, I don't think Kevin Durant is at a position where I can say that he surpassed LeBron James.
Yeah, and you're just being an analyst here looking at this. It didn't feel personal, but it felt like Kevin took it personally. Is that how you kind of assess that?
Yeah, and that's kind of how Kevin takes anything unless you're praising him and pushing him up. And I wasn't trying to in any way belittle him. I think he's a very talented player. He's shown that. Why, you know, he's an MVP. He has 2 finals MVPs. But still, the question that I answered was based on him and LeBron's comparison.
How would you guard him, and how different would that be in guarding LeBron?
Well, Dana, I'm going to be honest. The way I played the game, they would have to come back in my era and play. I can't play in today's era. This is a non-touch game. This is a shooter's game where there's not any contact. I played in an era where the game was physical, and you had to physically be ready for that type of challenge night in and night out. It wasn't a game where you knew you were going to get open shots or you weren't going to get knocked to the floor. To ask me how I would guard those guys would be difficult for me if I'm looking at today's rules.
If Durant was playing by 1995 rules against you,
I mean, it would be a totally different game for him. He wouldn't be the same player that he is today. His ball handling would be limited because you could get into a player's body, but not just Durant. I mean, every player. I mean, the game had more physicality to it where you could pretty much guard a player from 94 feet and use your defensive skills to try to take him out of the game. And that's not where today's game is.
Although LeBron could play in 1995, the physicality probably wouldn't affect him as much, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Kevin Durant couldn't play. I'm just saying he would not be that type of scorer. Now, on the other hand, LeBron James doesn't look to be a horrific scorer when he plays the game. He plays the game in a whole different mindset. He utilizes his teammates. He looks to be a distributor more so than a scorer, but he's a very effective scorer. because of his size and his strength.
Do you think LeBron would have made the Nets better, that they would have gotten in? They'd still be playing?
I can't say that by saying yes.
Okay.
But it would have been a whole different look had LeBron been on the court. He's more of a distributor. Kevin Durant is a scorer. So you're going to be looking at a guy that's going to be playing more for triple doubles instead of trying to score 40 or 50. I'll say that.
Help me understand the GQ article where you talked about the 1994 playoff game when you refused to go back in the game and Phil set up the play for Tony Kukoc.
Well, I mean, it's not much to be said. If you go back and look at when Scottie Pippen entered the Bulls and when Tony Kukoc entered the Bulls, and who deserved the last shot of the game.
No, I understand that, Scottie. I'm just going by what you said. You said you need to read between the fine lines, and then you go on to say it was a racial move to give him, Tony Kukoc, a rise. So,
well, I mean, if you knew that Scottie Pippen had been with the Bulls from 87, battled through the Pistons and every other team that we had to get to those 3 championships, wouldn't you give Scottie Pippen one opportunity to get a last-second shot without Michael Jordan? Like, 1 year without Michael Jordan. Can I get one shot? Like, I'm doing all the dirty work.
But all of that I understand from the basketball standpoint. But when you say a racial move...
Well, why would Tony, who was a rookie, get the last-second shot and you put me out of bounds? That's what I mean, racial. Like, that was Scottie Pippen's team.
But
Scottie
Phil
Pippen
then
was
but,
on pace to be an MVP that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why would you put him in a position not to be successful? Why wouldn't you put him in a position to succeed? Michael Jordan is not there. So who's next in line for you?
But have you talked to Phil about this? Because by saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you remember Phil Jackson left the Lakers, wrote a book on Kobe Bryant, and then came back and coached him? I mean, who would do that? You name someone in professional sports that would do that. You know? I think he tried to expose Kobe in a way that he shouldn't have. You're the head coach, and you're the guy that sits in the locker room and tells the players, this is a circle, and everything stays within the circle because that's what team is about. But you as the head coach, open it up, and now you go out and you try to belittle, at that time, probably one of the greatest players in the game.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal. I don't know if that makes him a racist.
Well, that's your way of putting it out, and I have my way. I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. You're looking for him afar.
Yeah, and look, that's why I wanted to have you on. But I go back, and Phil designed a play for Steve Kerr when Mike was there, and Mike didn't have a problem with that, did he?
I don't understand. You're not setting me up to answer the right question. What do you mean Phil set up a play for Steve Kerr? He didn't set that play for Steve Kerr. He set that play for Michael Jordan.
I thought in the huddle, Mike says, I'm going to throw you the ball. You'll be open at the foul line. And Phil had nothing to do with that?
And you don't want to get this show started because it'll take us a long time. Do you know all those cameras that's sitting in that huddle who they was working for?
The NBA.
So you know who Michael was speaking to when he said that, right? That was planned. That was speaking to the camera. That wasn't speaking out of what we're going to have to do, what the play is going to be. That was speaking to the camera. Had John Stockton not came down, trust me. But that was building his own documentary because he knew he was controlling the cameras. You understand English?
Yeah.
Okay. So all those cameras that was working were working basically for Michael Jordan, not for the Chicago Bulls.
But
they were building the Come Fly With Me, the Air Jordan videos, that's what it was. That was not naturally spoken.
Okay. All right.
That was rehearsed.
Okay. Did you guys understand that he was doing a documentary that last year?
We understood from Phil Jackson that the NBA wanted to do some behind the scene footage for the team documentary. That's what we was understood. That's what we were sold. But that wasn't how it all went down.
You phased out a little bit there with your connection. So yeah. I wasn't pausing. I wasn't pausing because I didn't understand what you were saying. Just wanted to let you know. But you feel like there's anger with you or clarification or something. I don't know. I'm trying to get a feel for this.
I think it's more clarification.
Because you had a great career.
I'm not angry at all. Yes, I've had a great career. Wonderful time in Chicago, and it is what it is. But I think there needs to be some clarification, about a lot of things that happened, whether it was in the documentary or through the GQ ad that I spoke on.
Yeah, I didn't know, how you were portrayed in the documentary, and obviously it was slanted. But if everybody knew you signed a bad contract, did it need to be brought up that you signed a bad contract? I don't know. It felt like it was piling up.
I think my biggest thing with the documentary was that Michael, who didn't play in '94, who was selling a video based on The Last Dance, was something that he sort of tried to pull out to show that our winning was all about me. And this is what everybody else did when I wasn't around. Because he didn't need that in his documentary. I mean, he wasn't on the team.
Yeah.
And if anything, if you're going to show that you called Phil, why didn't you show that you called Phil to bat for me? I mean, I'm probably was the only man standing who had been there with him back in the early 80s. But yet he comes back the next year because it was getting good. We weren't fading away.
Have you talked to Michael since the documentary?
No.
Do you want?
Not really talk. We kind of talked during it a little bit, but no.
Do you want to?
No, I mean, I think we both moved on in our life. There's nothing to be holding on to that went on 20 plus years ago.
What did you think?
And there's nothing for us to talk about that. I mean, we could talk about our life and our families and our golf game or something, but we ain't got to go back and clarify nothing that happened in the 90s.
What did you think when he said he was going to go play baseball?
I didn't really think about it. I was really focused on my own craft at that time, but I thought it
was a big decision, though.
Yeah, it was a big decision, but it was a selfish decision, but it was kind of who Michael Jordan was, and was a guy that kind of believed that he can do anything on his own.
The relationship was just we're teammates, and that was about it?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, we were excellent teammates. I mean, I think we try to make more out of it sometime than what it really was. But, we were great court teammates who had a very good understanding of each other and what it took to win.
我们来总结一下哦。美国时间6月24 ，Pippen 为了宣传自家的新酒，接受了 GQ 的访问。当然，他在访问中火力全开，公开攻击 Barkley， 然后隐约的攻击 KD 跟 Jordan。我们来看看他当时说的原话：篮球是没有什么所谓伟大球员的，伟大球员是建立在伟大团队上。你可以说 Barkley 是个很棒的球员，但你用一句话就可以让他闭嘴，因为他从来没赢过冠军。 他跟 Shaq 还有 Kenny 一起坐在主播台的时候，他们随时都可以让他闭嘴。虽然他的球技不错，但他们随时都可以让他感觉很渺小，连 Kenny 都可以让他感觉到很渺小，因为 Kenny 拿过冠军。Barkley 是名人堂球员没错，但当你讨论冠军或成就时，没有人会讨论他，除非你是在讨论梦一，那他就有权利说话，因为他是一支成功球队的一份子。主持人接着问 Barkley 在你离开过火箭后说过，你要是不会叫他一只大肥猪道歉，他会因谋杀被逮捕。Pippen 回，我还真希望他试试看，我没有跟他道歉过，但我知道他唯一被逮捕的事迹是把某个小白人从窗户中跳出去。我没看过他跟黑人打架啦，除了周围有裁判的时候。他以为自己很秋吗？我还真不知道他打过谁。我没跟他道歉，我叫他快点把我交易出去。主持人接着说 ，Mark Jackson 最近说过，他宁愿 Jordan 守他，也不希望你守他。Pippen 的回复是，跟我对阵过的对手，他们都很欣赏我，没人喜欢听到你们被 Jordan 打败。他们不是输给 Jordan， 他们是输给芝加哥公牛。这是一个团队运动。篮网跟 KD 前几天输球就是一个很好的例子。这是我们第一次看到 KD 必须单核带队。他之前有 Westbrook、Curry、Thompson， 他过去的成绩，尤其是勇士的时候，靠的是团队战力。有了好的团队，他才拿了冠军。但在他加入前，勇士就拿过冠军咯。之后 KD 去篮网 ，Irvin 受伤 ，Harden 也不在状态。KD 不只要得分，还要组织。这不是在批评 KD， 但有人问我 ，KD 超越 Lebron 了吗？我回他 ，Lebron 比 KD 了解篮球。KD 得分能力比 Lebron 强，一直以来都是这样。但他超越 Lebron 了吗？没有。他试着靠一己之力打败公鹿，而不是率领团队。你懂我意思吗？ LeBron 的话就会找到方法打败他们，而不会让自己打到没力出手最后一球。但 LeBron 不是 KD，KD 也不是 LeBron。KD 是个得分手，但 LeBron 有 KD 没有的。OK， 我们先谈 Barkley 那段。Pippen 看起来就是跟 Barkley 有点私人过节，然后用 Barkley 没拿过冠军的老梗攻击他，这没什么好说的。接下来他对 KD 的分析听起来其实没有非常强烈的主观批评，但 KD 听起来绝对不会舒服。于是 KD 就在 Twitter 用 Pippen 生涯的污点攻击他。KD 说，伟大的 Pippen 不是因为教练把最后一球做给比他好的射手而哭不愿意上场比赛吗？这里指的当然就是1994年东区第二轮第3战，当时尼克2-0领先系列赛，双方102平手，时间剩下 1.8 秒，公牛握有球权。在得知 Jackson 把战术设计给 Kukoc 后， Pippen 拒绝上场，最后 Kukoc 绝杀成功，公牛赢了比赛，但最终7场落败。在掀起了跟 KD 的牛肉风波后，美国知名广播主持人 Dan Patrick 邀请 Pippen 上节目说明访谈内容。没想到 Pippen 直接把一个小钢炮升级成3个核子弹。前面对 KD 的回应还不算炮火太猛烈，只是有意无意酸一下。殊不知这只是赛前热身练头，后面直接开启季后赛模式。他指控 Jackson 是种族歧视者，知道这在美国是非常严重的指控。之后更把炮火转移到 Jordan 身上，说他在摄影机面前演戏啦，跑去打棒球，看到球队打得不错，又决定跑回来打篮球，试图塑造出球队都是靠他，没他就不行啊，什么之类的。最后更指责 Jordan 是个自私的人。Pippen 这几天一连串的猛烈炮火攻击，当然多少是为了行销自己的新酒，但他炮火之猛烈确实让人吓了一跳。我甚至怀疑他是不是陷入了经济危机，为了博取关注或者是钱才说出那么激烈的话。不管怎么样 ，Pippen 成功的引起了媒体的注意，但也让自己公众形象大扣分。先不论他的诸多指控是否属实，他这一连串的情绪性发言听起来非常的幼稚，语气中充满了讽刺酸言酸语，或像对 Barkley 的直接人身攻击。影片的最后附上Kerr在1997年绝杀爵士的致胜球，各位观众可以自行判断 Jordan 的那句做好接我球的准备是不是刻意讲给镜头听的。
He mumbled something like, hey, Steve, be ready. He knew the camera was always on him, and I'm like oblivious. He comes up, I'll be ready. And then I'm like yelling back, like, I'll be ready.